Welcome to the Wired for Success podcast, your show for ambitious, mission-driven entrepreneurs who want to build million-dollar businesses without sacrificing their health, relationships, or happiness, who understand that in order to build their empire, they need a solid foundation, and that the more they are thriving, the more their business is thriving too. This show brings you the very best from science, self-development, and entrepreneurship to set you up for sustainable success. Hi, I'm Claudia Gabert, the scientist turned mindset and high performance coach for entrepreneurs, and I help you get wired for success. Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Wired for Success podcast, where we talk about all things science, self-development, and entrepreneurship that help you get to that next level of success in your life and business. My guest today is serial entrepreneur Swapnil Vats, who has built AI systems for travel giants, scaled communities from 0 to 10,000 plus members, built Social Boat, an AI-led app that had more than 45,000 women manage chronic health conditions, and now builds the Lunar Ring, a futuristic smart ring that measures and analyzes your sleep, wellness, heart rate, stress, and over 70 biomarkers. Welcome, Swapnil, and thank you so much for taking the time to be on my show today.
Thank you so much, Claudia, and very glad to be here. Very glad to talk to your audience today. And most importantly, congratulations for building such a good podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Very excited to be here.
Now, you have built across travel, AI, women's health, and now wearable tech. If you zoom out, what's the deeper pattern? Is there a thread that connects all those different projects for you?
I think yes. I've always loved solving a complex problem. And I am also one of those people who sort of, that whole work-life balancing. So like things I enjoy in my personal life, I also love to work and build upon them. So travel and healthcare are two areas that I've always loved to learn more about, love to deep more about. And then merging this with trying to an interest to solve complex problems, I think is where both these areas happened for me. So there's been a distinct space in my career where I worked in travel, and then a distinct space in my career where I've worked in healthcare.
Yeah, that makes sense. Entrepreneurship is a complex problem for sure. Yes. What was it like building your first business? Can you just share some of your experiences there?
So the first time I tried anything entrepreneurial in nature was when I was a student back in college, and we did micro workshops across different colleges in schools. So we built a community of that. Was actually before the travel bug also hit me. So we built a community of software developers who would go ahead and solve challenges for different companies, and we used to host a lot of online hackathons. So I think that was a very unique experience in itself. We learned how to leverage the power of being in a student community, which is a college. So, where we had volunteers, hundreds of volunteers, because we were part of a very close-knit student group who would participate and just help us grow massively during those periods. So very different from what we did later on, what typically building a company in today's world is, because here we were a bunch of college students trying to hustle our way through just a certain thought that we had in our mind. But the core learning, if I think back today of those years, is that once you have a way to or a wish to try to solve a certain problem, you will figure out a method in your surroundings for solving that. It need not be a conventional method. Like we were a bunch of 19-year-old kids who had a lot of 19-year-old kids around us. So we built a very volunteer-led company back then, which worked for us as students, right? Probably not a traditional way to build a company. And then when we moved out, when we did a second venture, it was slightly a very different approach to how we did venture. But if I had to believe, the fundamental still was what problem were we solving was more important than how we were solving that problem.
It sounds like community was always a big part of it, right?
absolutely. I think I thrive when I work around people. So
Yeah, finding your finding your tribe is so important.
so important. Absolutely.
Now,
Yes.
it seems like you have, like most great entrepreneurs, the ability and also the willingness to start from scratch over and over again. How do you personally think about resilience and motivation? So, what keeps you going when times are tough?
Um, it is a function of three things. I've done a lot of 0 to 1 journeys, and sometimes, and I tell people that it's not easy to do a lot of 0 to 1 journeys. You have to genuinely be excited by uh, that problem statement of building from scratch and creating the first wow movement in in any product's journey, right? I personally like, because as I said earlier, I like solving complex problems, and the most complex I thrive. I get a lot of kick if I'm solving, being able to create solution to a complex problem, and that nothing is more vague when it starts, when it is a pure play 0 to 1 journey. But the three things that have helped me sustain over there, one is having a good partner around us. I think very, very important. And um, what happens at the end of the day when you're sleeping? Do you have somebody to talk to? Do you have somebody to just run through the grinds, the success and the frustrations of the day-to-day life right
Mm.
there? So I think one, the partner could be your family, could be your spouse, could be your girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever, just a good friend, right? But having someone, a support system around you is super important. The second is to build that resilience, and I think resilience is not it's an acquired trait. It's not something we're naturally born with, right? And the second is to try to find joys in the smaller things also, because when you do a 0 to 1, you'll have a lot of ups and downs. So the ability to find those small joys, the ability to enjoy those small joys, is also supremely important. So um, I've always enjoyed uh, the smallest of the victories we've had, and it might not have been large for a lot of other people, right? But I've taken pride in that. So a support ecosystem, finding the smallest of joys in what you're building, and the third is a true belief in the problem you're solving, which is like the most important thing, right? uh,
Mhm.
you can't go back on the drawing board and build another company, or solve another problem, if you don't truly believe in the problem you're looking to solve, because you will be burnt out if you're not doing that. And the difference in being burnt out and being excited or passionate is the belief you have in what you're trying to fight or solve for.
Mm.
So so I think those three would be reasons that have contributed to my own tenacity or resilience, but also would believe would be true for a lot of other people.
Yeah, I guess so. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah,
Now,
thanks.
as you said, you've worked on scaling big platforms, but also you've built from scratch multiple times. I'm curious what drains your energy more. Is it the chaos in the startup or is it the complexity when scaling? Because to me, it kind of sounds like you love the chaos and the dopamine hit that you get in the start, and you might get bored later on, but I might be totally wrong there. So,
No, I will admit that, like, I thrive in chaos and
mm,
uncertainties. I think I somehow, my as my wife says, this brings out the best in me. But I also understand, like, I do love solving larger structured problems as well. But if I had to choose between the two, I thrive more in the chaos and uncertainties when there are more, because um, the kick that you get at the end of that is a larger kick, because the output was very unpredictable. In
mm,
a
mm,
problem which is very structured, the output is fairly predictable, even though the inputs are, it's tough to execute all of those things. um, but as I said, so I am somebody who, who gets more excited by, the kick of building something or kick of solving a problem. So yeah, so I'd choose the first.
yeah, I
Yeah.
totally get it. Totally get it because dopamine hits bigger when there's an element of surprise, and I think that's what you're alluding to,
Absolutely.
right? So as long as it's still unpredictable, you have the bigger spikes for sure.
Yes.
When you're overwhelmed, do you default to instinct, data, or people? And how do you solve problems when the noise gets like really loud?
A very interesting question. I think the answer is a little more complex. And to be fair, I have fallen to all three in different scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, whenever I'm overwhelmed by a problem statement, I think it is the instinct bit of it has largely crossed. So you've already probably gone by your instinct. It's people that have more fallen back to.
Hmm.
Uh, I love taking advice from people who've built in this. Like, if when I'm building, I love being a part of a community. So I think there are always a lot of answers. I also am somebody who builds a lot of community around me. I love to have people to always bounce off an idea with. And similarly, the same set of mentors slash people slash friends to also, just go to when there's a feeling of overwhelming. And also something that I think is very important for anyone who's building something, goes back to the conversation we were having around resilience, that having someone to talk to, having someone to just bounce off an idea with is always helps in making a decision.
Yeah, I'm totally the same. I love talking to people to figure things out.
Absolutely, yes. So,
Have you ever felt like you were the bottleneck in your company? And if so, what was the mental barrier to scaling and how did you break through it?
I'm sure. I mean, probably I'll admit it lesser, but I'm sure people who work with me would have more instances of where I was being a bottleneck. But like can retrospectively just think of an incident when I was building my last company where uh, both of us co-founders were very passionate people about certain. So we'd have instances where I'd have a strong belief in how we're trying to do, and my co-founder could also have a strong belief in how what they believe is the right path to go about it. And then that's when we just figured out a way that the best way to arrive a decision is probably, and I might sound very boring saying this, is probably a just a 2 by 2 metrics on what is the strength, what is the weakness of each decision. I think that when you write it out, there's a very easy out to that. Very easy decision making becomes very easy, right? So both of us would put down weaknesses and strength of each of our viewpoints, and then that would come out easier. But
Mm.
I'm sure I've been a bottleneck a few times. So but I think, like, no
Things
regrets,
well,
no regrets to that, part of the journey. So
it totally is part of the journey, and I think we've all been there, so no shame in that.
yeah,
But
absolutely no issue. Yeah.
if you could remove one bottleneck, except for you, so not about you. If you could remove one bottleneck in your business right now, or it could be something external, internal, that would just unlock the next level of growth for you, what would it be?
Um, I think when you are for what we're building, because we're building a global health tech solution, the one
Mhm.
bottleneck I love, as a matter of fact, there are two. So I'll just say both of them here. So the one bottleneck I'd love to remove is the complexities of logistics that happen when you have to just ship product A from product B
Yeah.
to geography C. So, like, I think there should be faster ways in the world to, some user orders a product, you should somehow be able to send to them the same day. And for a younger company, it's not very straightforward, right? So somehow figure out that kind of a bottleneck which happens around logistics.
Mhm.
But that's more of an executional bottleneck in terms of, um, I think we make decisions very fast, but I'd love to have faster decision making if I
Mhm.
had to figure out, what's one bottleneck I'd love to remove. And that's would be true since your audience who are listening to this podcast would also be people in a similar journey in their lives, right? Or looking to
Mhm.
be in that journey. Instinct driven decisions mostly work well. So we should just largely trust the first decision and then just go about it.
Yeah, speed can be a big plus, right? Sometimes you just have to be faster than the other people building the same thing.
I mean, yeah. And it's honestly, I don't think it's about comparing with the other people building it. It's more about once you take a decision, stick to it, just build around it. You're bound to
Mm,
make mistakes, but you learn faster if you fail faster. And you
that's
might at an overall level do better. So
yeah. As we said, you're currently building the lunar ring. So
yes.
what makes it special compared to other smart rings on the market?
So at Luna, what we're trying to do is we're trying to build. Luna is a health tech company where the Luna ring is a wearable that we have that allows the core intelligence system to monitor what's happening inside your body and to give you actionable insights.
Mhm.
How that is different from what other wearables today are doing is that we are trying to build a solution that tells you why something is happening and what is happening inside. Where
Mhm.
fundamentally today wearables today are tracking devices
Yep.
which track what's happening inside your body and then tell you if certain metric is right or wrong. What we're trying to build is a contextual device which tries to understand what is wrong, but then tries to go beyond understanding why is something wrong in your body. So to
Mm.
give most variables today, it could be smart rings, it could be smart watches, will tell you, well, that you've had a bad sleep because your REM sleep wasn't great last night. So you should take a little easy today. And because your sleep score is bad. What Luna is trying to build is that you have bad REM. Every night you do a walk post 10 p.m. and every time you have a coffee after 5 p.m.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
that kind of very pinpointed insight and causation about what's happening inside your
Nice.
body.
So
Why is it happening?
pattern recognition.
What is what our core moat is essentially.
That sounds great.
We hope. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. Now, we mentioned in the intro that it can also track over 70 biomarkers. Can you give us some examples of what it can track?
So as I said, when you talk about the Luna Ring, it's a combined solution of the Luna app and the Luna Ring.
Mhm.
Um, we track everything from your sleep, your REM sleep, deep sleep, your HRV, your stress patterns, your uh, different states of stress, like when you're active, when you're non-active states. We'll go about tracking your cardio health parameters like respiratory rate, your heart rate, your blood oxygen, and that at different points of the day. Then you'll have abilities to track them at your will as well. We also would have over 35 workout modes where you can track your heart rate zones, your calorie, your cadence, your intensity over all of those 35 workout modes. We've gone a step ahead and built voice integrations which can allow you to monitor your caffeine intake, allow you to monitor your supplements intake, allow you to monitor your recovery habits like cold plunges, like
Mhm.
massages, a sauna session, a certain breathing session. So that is as I said, so we're tracking what's happening inside your body. We're also creating journal led tracking about your personal habits and your usage, and that becomes a very exhaustive list which makes our advice much more contextual in what it. So
Mm.
you also track every meal you've had on
Wow,
the. Yes. So,
that's a lot of tracking.
oh yeah.
So, so do you personally use it to track your habits, workouts, and
Yeah,
diets and everything?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. So I'm like, I think as hardcore a user as it gets, but I think that's equally important if you're building a
Sure.
problem, right? If you're not sort of solving it for yourself, you might not understand what's happening. And I've seen sizable improvements in my own sleep patterns. You know, all entrepreneurs would agree that we don't really have great sleeps. So I think I've seen a lot of improvement happening in my own sleep schedules. But I've also, most importantly, built a lot of knowledge about the different causations we were talking about. So
Mm.
I've moved my dinner Diet Coke. I've just removed Diet Coke from my dinner because the caffeine in the Diet Coke impacts my sleep later, right? So even though I was like, I love my Diet Coke. And similarly, I've learned a lot more about my body. I've learned those smaller instances about how do I optimize my morning recoveries the most today. So I think those are two things I've seen a significant impact on my own self and has helped me, just be more confident about what we're building.
Yeah, I really like that. The other thing is that, I mean, it sounds like there's so much data. Does it ever get overwhelming for you to track and analyze? Or how much time do you spend analyzing your habits?
That's a spot on problem, and I think also one of the core problems that our product team essentially is trying to solve for, which is reduce the cognitive load of
Yeah.
all of this tracking, right? So there's a very typical word called orthosomnia, where it's the it's the anxiety you get by looking at your sleep scores.
Yes.
So your sleep is bad
Yes.
because you're looking at sleep scores. So we're trying to optimize largely, and I'll give you some examples of that. I mentioned a lot of biomarkers earlier, right? And some tracking information. So to essentially pick up your phone, just log a meal every time you have is a lot of effort for somebody to build. So we're trying to build solutions where via voice, like I could simply sit here and say, I'm speaking with Claudia, and I'm slightly anxious. I'll give you an example. Like if I
Mhm.
just say this, my ring will go and monitor that at some point. It will keep a log of that. So there is going to be voice-led interactions that we're building. I could be brushing my teeth in the morning and just say, "Hey Luna, what do you think of my last night?" And it will just start talking to me. So we're trying to build ways where it becomes a conversational participant in your life, and not a product where you have to open complex graphs, you have to go through all of those graphs, the,
Hmm.
the red alerts, the green alerts. It's lesser of that. It is also that for people who want to go deeper, but it's a fairly conversational flow. So for me personally, when I drive to work using the Apple CarPlay and Luna's Siri integration, I have a conversation with my app essentially, and that it's like just calling up my health coach and just talking that how was my last night, what are things that I missed, what are things that are going well. So that kind of a conversation is what I do.
I like that direction because I think it can get so overwhelming if you're trying to keep track of all the diagrams and the alerts. And as you said, I find it anxiety provoking. So I
Fair, fair,
like
fair,
your direction. In
fair.
your opinion, what's the most underestimated biomarker that people should pay more attention to?
I think lately HRV is getting the due recognition it should be getting.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it is pretty important when it comes to understanding your recovery. If you A lot of people I know around have, and I know so many of Luna's users who've come back and told us they've reduced their drinking habits, they've reduced uh, late night binging, they've reduced a lot of late night TV because they've been monitoring their HRV scores and they're seeing the impact that these small habits have on that. So
Mm.
I think for me standpoint, it is getting the due credit last couple of years, but HRV is a very important metric for a lot of people to monitor.
Yeah, for sure. You're also building the Luna Band. What's the
Yes.
difference in functionality compared to the Ring? Do they complement each other or should people choose one or the other?
So I believe most people would choose one over the other.
Hmm.
They're designed to also complement each other. But when we started building the ring, we've built a great stack that monitors what's happening inside your body. we've come to understand that there the like there are different user segments, right? There are people who would love having a wearable on the ring, which is on the fingers, which is very discreet, which you can potentially wear and just forget about it, right? And then there are also people who are into strength training, who are into contact sports
Yeah.
largely, where probably wearing a ring might not be the best effective solution, right? So we built up, and a lot of our users would coming us for that. So we built a band to essentially broaden the user base that could engage with Luna's health intelligence. So we launched the band by that thought process in mind. So the band optimizes a little more for activity, a little bit more for, getting more data around activity. The ring optimizes more for all day wellness. So while
Mm-hmm.
they broadly solve similar problem statements, but there would be a specific like USP to each. But very excited about the band coming out. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I can't, just share in the podcast. And because
True.
teams have been working on it, we're seeing the latest updates coming in and just so excited about it. So
No, that's cool. What's your favorite? If you had to pick one.
I, the ring is the first child. So
Okay, sure.
the ring is the favorite. Yes.
I totally get it. Now, what do your personal high performance habits look like? Can you walk us through a typical day in your life?
So I play a sport in the morning. I think I've always enjoyed sports. I've never been a hardcore gym person. I've played tennis, I play badminton, I play most racket sports I actively participate in. So I've picked up tennis these days. I've been playing badminton for over 16, 17 years now. I think I play a sport in the morning. I spend some time just with my supplements, whey proteins, because I uh, try to monitor all day energy, and that's something Luna has been solving for. So I am post that a quick breakfast and then to work. uh, I spend a lot of time at work. Don't recommend late night working hours to everybody, but it ends up happening at times with what we're trying to build. We make it a conscious effort, and that's how our workplace is also designed, where we do a lot of discussions when we're walking. We do a lot of discussions like when we're standing. So I think we do optimize for not being couch potatoes all day. uh, and
Good.
then post evening, there's a, when we come back, there's a quick dinner with the wife. We go downstairs for a walk. The weather is pretty good this week, so it was very harsh the week before. So we've been enjoying going for that walk, and then just watching a couple of reading a couple of blogs, and then watching some TV, and then gradually going to sleep. So it's a fairly boring day, honestly, but that's how most days are. So weekends would have just a little more sports and a little more catching up with some users, some friends, broadly added to it.
Yeah, it's great that you have found a structure that works for you.
Yes. So
You have seen data at a massive scale. We've talked about all this tracking, the price algorithms, probably wellness metrics, travel funnels, all the good stuff. How do you personally measure your own performance beyond revenue and biomarkers? What does success mean to you?
um, are you asking about, you know, what
Just
is
in,
success beyond company's revenue for me?
yes.
Is that the
Yeah.
question? Fair. Fair. So I think for me, it has always been impact. And impact, it's not always very straightforward to quantify what impact is. So for me, getting 10 solid long reviews a week, reading them, is success in itself, where some users tell me how the product we've been building has impacted their life in any way, is as good a success, I believe, as possible for me today. So that is a very important, just a parameter that makes my week happy. If I get to read some good reviews, detailed explanations on how what we've been building has impacted somebody, that's very important. Beyond that, I would like to believe that how my team is essentially, how excited are they about what we're building is also a parameter of success for me. And that comes from, how well are their careers growing, how well is the team that's working with me, how excited about are they equally about the problem we are trying to solve, is also, source of success for me. Absolutely. And I count that as success if, we're all very excited about what we're building. So
I
these two.
really like that. I really like that. Like just being excited about what you're building. That's a great metric for success, I think. And last but not least, where can our listeners find you online if they would like to learn more about you or connect with you?
So I'm there on LinkedIn, I'm there on Instagram. So feel free to just reach out to me on any of those platforms. I'm fairly active on LinkedIn. You can email me on swapnil.vats@lunazone.com, or just go to LinkedIn, search up Swapnil Vats, and I think you should be able to find me. So
perfect. Swapnil, thank you so much for sharing all those tips and insights with us today. This was so much fun.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you so much for taking our time and just hosting me. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So keep up the great work. Take care and talk soon.
Thank you so much. And likewise. Thank you. Have a good day.
Yep. You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Wired for Success podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, please take a sec to rate and review my show or share it with a friend. That way you can support the show and help me reach and support other entrepreneurs like yourself as well. If you would like my help to figure out how you can go from overwhelmed and overworked hustler to empowered and confident leader, check out my website at www.wiredforsuccess.solutions and book a free 20-minute strategy session with me. Can't wait to help you get wired for success. Until next time, take care. Bye.